and then we'll get started. I wish I had some elevator music to play. All right. Miriam's, Fort Richmond. Ilea, of course, Island Lakes. Shout out to our member. Heidi's in Kelowna. Very nice. Barb's in Winnipeg, metro area. Ooh, very nice. Shauna in River Heights. Awesome. It's going to be a bit troublesome with this waiting room. It requires me to approve everyone's entry. So I'll be trying to multitask and nearly going here as people jump in. But so far, so good. Let's have at her, at least with the agenda. And as people join, obviously they can pick up where we leave off. All right. So hopefully you can see this slideshow. If you can, drop a yes in the chat or a yay. Let's do it all. Why not? Good, good. All right. We got the thumbs up going. So the agenda, I'd like to keep this concise, 30-ish minutes, leave some time for Q&A. Little bonus at the end for those who stick around. Oh gosh, this waiting room is going to be very troublesome. They're jumping in. So we want to first address the 3 myths that I feel almost everyone I talk to feels fat loss requires, and it doesn't. So we're going to dive into those. Might be a refresher if you're a member of the program. If not, it might ruffle some feathers. That's good. That's what we want. Then we're going to go into the process to lose fat fast. Yeah, we did promise that if you follow this plan, you can lose up to 10 pounds in June. That's what you're here for. Then I'm going to actually persuade you that that might not be the best choice, and the sustainable way is probably your better option, unless you've got some very time-sensitive goals here, okay? So that's what you're in for in the next 30-ish minutes, unless I'm long-winded. I'll keep an eye on the clock. And feel free to drop your questions in the chat. I will get to them at the end. I do like to start with my backstory, but very briefly, because it can be, a sob story that gets kind of boring. Don't be alarmed if you hear kids screaming in the background, by the way. They're in the midst of the trampoline time. So sometimes that leads to some crying. That's okay. They're under supervision. So 260 pounds after high school. Throughout high school, frankly, I was always the heavy set kid that got made fun of. Oh, these people that are not on time, I tell you. So that was my backstory, the furthest thing from a fitness person, fitness coach, no less. But getting that spark indirectly, in high school, I had some low moments. I'm not going to go into those. But finding fitness helped me find my best version. And it wasn't just about the appearance, but how it trickled into every other area of my life, my work ethic, my mood, self-confidence, et cetera, which is why it eventually kind of indirectly led me down this path. So 20 years since dropping that weight, it was a bit of a roller coaster, losing 60 pounds, gaining it back. Yes, I would like to do that, Shauna, if I can. I just don't know how to do that. So we'll go with it. So 20 years ago, losing the weight, now 11 as a coach in this capacity. I know a lot of you kind of were introduced to me from the Free Press first. Some in men's health, if you're from out of Winnipeg. Maybe the odd spot in CJOB. By the way, I have to get back to Kevin to get on that show again. Lots of transformations, lots of good stuff, but you're here to get some actionable advice, whether you get coaching from me or not, or if you're a member or not. Irene and Pilot Mountain, nice. So we're going to start with those 3 myths. This is the one I think I come across the most. And it may be because keto diets got popular. That could be part of it. For whatever reason, we associate carbs with good tasting food, but also bad for us. And it's not that black and white. So I find a diet too low in carbs is hard to sustain because you've got too many rules around food, too many foods off limits. When you go to social events, unless it's a keto party, pretty tough to avoid and have those cravings, falling off the wagon is usually what happens. Not to say that there's a percentage of people that can follow this consistently and win, just the majority it doesn't work. I tried this way before it was cool. Back in 2008, I was working in Fort Frances as a sports reporter and got glimpses of keto online and bastardized it quite significantly to the fact that, it's eating a lot of meat and not a lot of veggies. And the lack of veggies led to me going to the emergency room with a bowel obstruction. We'll spare you the details on that. There is a good way to do keto. That was not the right way. I like to share James's story because he came in with this belief that carbs are the enemy. He dropped a bit of weight on his own, like cutting them to zero, but he had gotten plateaued, stuck, which is a common story. You lose that first 10, 20 water weight. Then what happens? What do? Cut more carbs? You're already at zero, right? So we actually built up his metabolism, had him eating 150 grams a day. I don't know if he's on this call or not, but if you are, James, say hi. And lost 60 pounds. Same shirt, obviously fits it differently. And that was without having to cut carbs and enjoy some balance in his life. He likes his donuts. So we made sure we fed some donuts into his plan. And there you go. Myth number 2. And the fitness industry is to blame for this one big time because they want to sell you an angle. I get it. With heart rate monitors and the sweatier or harder you work, the more you're burning fat, you're melting fat. None of that is exactly true. Certainly that supports your overall calorie deficit, but the amount of calories you can burn in a half-hour workout is insignificant in the big picture. And often our bodies try to make up the difference by slowing our energy down the rest of the day. We're planted to the couch. We get hungrier, so we consume more calories to make up the difference. Frankly, the best workouts are the ones that maintain muscle and tone, and you use diet and overall movement the rest of the day to burn fat. Because oftentimes, if you lose weight through these methods alone, without your nutrition in the right place, without deliberate strength work, you end up losing as much muscle as fat. Like the studies are pretty clear on this, 30 to 50% of that weight you lose on the scale is the lean body mass you want to keep. And our priority is to keep every ounce of that if possible and prioritize fat loss, because that's what you're looking for in the end, right? Very good. Okay. Moving on. So I like to share Brett's story because he had his friends saying, well, you must have really worked hard through this 3-month process. And he, well, in self-reflection, said, no, I mean, I don't think I remember one time where I ever actually sweated through my shirt. I did the strength workouts, I followed the diet, and I walked, and it was the easiest program ever done, right? So that's what we want everyone's outcome to be. Not to say it works out that smoothly. There's different journeys everyone has to go on. But the simple answer is you don't need to kill yourself with long drawn-out workouts to get results. All right, so I've got more in the waiting room here, but I'm going to keep kicking along. Myth 3 is this belief that you just need a meal plan and a workout, and you'll do it on your own. If you could do it on your own, hell, if I could do it on my own, I wouldn't need coaches, nor would you need a support system. Because we've all heard that person that says, I know what to do, I just need to do it, but they've been kind of talking about doing it for decades, or they tried things in spurts only to gain the weight back. And we want to get you out of this vicious cycle. Because everyone can be committed for a few weeks. Most don't even necessarily get that far with it. But results never last without, sustaining and changing your identity along the way. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. All right. I share Jason because he's a coach himself on the business end of things. He understood the concept of accountability working with us over the last few months. I like that tattoo, by the way. It's flipped, as you can see. It's not a fake after photo. He's got a tattoo on his other shoulder. En route to losing 30 pounds. So we're going to talk about the 4M method here in a bit. He kind of touches on it here. Movement, muscle, meals. Doesn't mention mindset, but that's where the coach comes in. So we'll get into that in a second. We feel this is the golden ticket, but I'm going to share what I think is the fast way shortly. But before we do that, just to ensure you're kind of paying attention here, what of these myths did you once believe or currently believe that we challenged you a bit tonight? 1, 2, or 3. Drop it in the chat. We're not going anywhere until we see. Mike's got a 2. Hard workouts are the only way. I feel that one is right up there, but 1, carb phobia tends to be the most common. We've got lots of 2s, 3s. Okay, so there's no real consensus here. It's a good mix of all. All 3, says Judy. Yeah, unfortunately, you've been told or sold that, you've got to cut carbs, or you've got to do these extreme workouts, and oftentimes that's just simply not the case, all right? And that's what we're going to share with you today. All right, so just to make sure you're paying attention, I have a lot of fun making these slides, so there you go. So here's and tread cautiously, but this is the approach if you're all in committed to losing up to 10 pounds Some of that's going to be water that first week. I'm not going to pretend you're going to lose 10 pounds of pure fat in the next 30 days. But I've personally done this prepping for my bodybuilding show, so that should be a caveat that it's fairly extreme. And we've done it with other members quite consistently when they've had some time-sensitive goals. So this is the plan. Because there's nothing really wrong with losing fat faster. I know that's everyone's desire, but here's a good quote. The faster you want to go, the more sacrifices you must make. Apparently Yoda said that. Don't quote me on that. So what are those sacrifices? Well, in order to lose 2 pounds of fat per week, we've got to create a 7,000 calorie deficit. It's a big number. The math doesn't lie. It's purely impossible to lose 2 pounds of fat without creating a deficit of 7,000 calories. 3,500 calories represents 1 pound of fat. So to do that, expect a bit of a whoosh early because you're cutting calories off the hop, but it should settle into a 2 pound a week pace. But you can only really sustain this for maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks, because it's a lot of work and your body's going to fight you. So keep that in mind if you want to go down this road. I know I'm discouraging you all from doing this, but here's the math. So I generally start someone who's over 200 pounds, who's fairly active at body weight times 11 in calories, body weight times 10 if you're under 200 pounds. Now, it's actually worse if you're sub 150 pounds and 5'5" or less and fairly sedentary. But we'll just make this 2 blanket recommendations to start. The big key is having a lot of your calories come from protein. This is going to ensure you maintain muscle, but lose fat at a faster rate without cutting calories too aggressively. Because, and I won't get too deep into the science, but the thermic effect of protein, it's a lot to digest, and a lot of those calories technically don't count. So that's the only way I can really define it. All right. So that's the math. A ton of protein, a decent amount of carbs, just enough fat to keep hormone and joint health in its place. Yes, fairly challenging. Didn't say it was for the faint of heart. This is what it looks like. Hopefully you all got this document when you signed up and registered for this. If not, I'll send it out after. But it's your typical meat, protein, and produce with just enough fat through the early part of the day. We want to ensure you get some starchy carbs around your workout. So you'll see sweet potatoes in there and maybe some oatmeal in a protein shake. And then you finish off the day with more fish, more greens. Yes, it works. Is it built to help your sustain? Not necessarily. Nor does it make it very easy to kind of work in social events or restaurant meals. It just really requires quite a lot of diligence. Part 2 is the significant amount of movement you got to do to support that 2 pound a week loss. So looking back at when I did a bodybuilding show, 2011 now, I relied on significant step counts, but even still, to get to 6-7% body fat, not to say this is going to get you there, but for that last bit, I was 1,600 calories or less, which at my size was deprivation. So we don't want that. But this, again, is going to work. It's just whether or not you're willing to do it. If you can't achieve that step count, it's too much time commitment, you can do deliberate cardio session first thing in the morning. Either intervals if you got 20 minutes, or just a steady paced walk, cycle, jog if you got more time. You'll likely burn out from this one if you do it every day, especially on low calories. Okay, any questions? Everyone's dropping off like this sounds too hard. Yeah, and that's why we're going to lead or finish off with a plan B for you guys. So the workouts are designed to get you in and out of your gym sessions. They can be done at home, but the workouts you have in this guide, again, are just blanket recommendations. But they are meant to be lower impact, more machine dumbbell stuff, and exhaust your glycogen with 100 reps and go from there. Yeah, you'd have to customize it to yourself there. Meal plan for vegetarians. It's going to be awfully difficult to hit the protein recommendation purely vegetarian. However, it's better than vegan. You know, you can get in egg whites and protein shakes and stuff. But again, this is an aggressive approach. So it's not necessarily one size fits all. All right. Good. You will be hungry throughout meals or between meals. So all of this stuff can potentially help. By default, you're getting a lot of food volume because every meal requires a lot of protein and produce. That will help. I really rely on, and some people say diet drinks are poison. I'll challenge you a bit on that. In moderation, they have their place. In between meals, that was my way to curb appetite. Nowadays, there's these wonderful things called GLP-1 agonists. Now, talk to your doctor on that. I have no personal experience with it. I just know we have some members who were ravenous before, who went on Ozempic. There's even a better one coming that's less side effects. And they were just better able to adhere to the plan. So it's certainly not free. It's not covered by insurance unless you have diabetes at this point, but it's coming. It's in the States. You got everyone in Hollywood on this. I'm going to suggest there's some pros and cons. And if you're not hungry, hunger isn't your major barrier, you don't need this. That's all it does is curb hunger. All right. A few other things I won't get too in depth on, but I like my G. Hughes barbecue sauce. Tastes like the real thing without a huge ton of sugar. So that's the guide. It's meant to be 2 to 4 weeks. So you should have that. If you don't, certainly let me know. I'll get that over to you. Now, this is the disclaimer. If you go down this road and you do it for 4+ weeks, you're going to need a reverse diet after because you have compromised your metabolism a little bit. I know I'm not selling this approach well. That's by design. So you need to methodically increase your calories by maybe 200-300 a day on the back end, or you will gain as much as you lost back just as quickly. This is a lost art, but important. And then it prolongs the effort because you kind of have to slowly get back to maintenance kind of thing. So there you go again. That's why we don't go to extremes. So what to do instead? If you don't want to kill yourself, you've got a longer runway, you want to enjoy your weekends, have some balance, there is a better way, I find, if you're willing to play a bit more of a long game, okay? So we talk about the 4M method, the big 5 habits. I think it's back behind me here. Yeah, I've got the book. That's what we kind of go through with everybody. And it does fit most people's life pretty simply. And this is how it kind of visualizes, is you do deliberately focus on burning fat. You do need a maintenance phase coming out of it to keep your results. And some people eventually actually tack on some muscle and kind of get into a good place where they're eating more food than they'd started, but at a significantly leaner body weight. And that's sort of the promised land path we want everyone to take. So the first M of these 4 is movement. That can look like anything, including this, but it's generally best done as walking. Low impact, it lowers your stress, which is already elevated from having kids and career and all these other demands in your life. The best thing you can do is to burn calories, but also lift your mood and de-stress. It's just walking. You can walk on a treadmill if that's your thing, but you can walk outside right now. This is the perfect time of year to do it. And here's the list of benefits. Quite significant. If you walk 12,000 steps daily, you don't even have to do that much, but I'm just trying to make a comparison, versus someone who goes to Orange Theory 4 times a week, but walks 3,000 to 4,000 steps the rest of the day. I'm guaranteeing the walker is going to do better in the fat loss department, because that's what you do in those 23 hours a day makes way more difference from a purely weight loss perspective. So the second M is muscle. Why is that? Well, it's more and more being linked to longevity. There was a big research paper, and if you saw my podcast today, went into that, where those with the least muscle were the most likely to prematurely die. So not something any of us desire, I don't believe. We don't generally lose muscle just by default by aging. We have to do things to keep it, but really it's strength training. In this research, someone as old as 81 years of age maintained the better part of their muscle just by continuing to modify strength workouts. So we feel any effective program should preserve muscle and burn body fat, not just lose weight. So I'm a big fan of cardio and strength, but if you're to pick a side of what's going to make a bigger difference in this stuff, this research pointed us in the right direction. because 20 people were put on a very aggressive diet, not to suggest you would ever eat under 1,000 calories, hopefully not. But one group paired it with cardio, one did strength workouts. They lost comparable amounts of body fat, but the cardio group lost 9 pounds of muscle, and the group that strength trained managed to gain muscle on 800 calories a day, which goes to show how powerful that is. So what group's going to look better in terms of performance in the mirror, better served to keep their results? Likely the group that strength trained, even though the cardio group's probably pumped on the scale. So it looks like they did way better. But unfortunately, when they dug deeper, the DEXA scan, they realized it wasn't quality. All right, so a few variables to an optimal workout. I don't want to bore you with this, but just trying to get stronger gradually over time. You don't have to be lifting 400 pounds, but if you're doing 20 pounds today, maybe it's 25 a month or two down the road, and working your way up in rep counts. What I want to see is tough reps at the end of a set, where you want to move it as fast as possible, but you literally can't. It's kind of grinding it out without your form going to total crap. So those are the reps that build muscle and modify muscle. So doing 1,000,000 reps, but you're not really feeling that burn and that grind, aren't going to have the same effect as just a couple quality reps at the end. You do need to have enough actual volume per muscle group to see it change. And that's the problem with, random group workouts. It's different every time. How do you know what you're working week to week, or if you have any sort of system? You do need some structure to this because it doesn't happen by accident. And then this is a real big one, is actual rest periods of 2 minutes plus per muscle group. And you're never going to get that in a circuit workout if you don't deliberately set it up like we've shown here with non-competing antagonist supersets. Bicep, tricep, those are non-competing muscle groups, back to back, chest back, that kind of thing. Then you get active rest without wasting time, and then you can put everything you have into that next set. So that's really how we set it up to ensure it still stays within around 30 minutes, but gets you to the optimal benefits of these workouts. Any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I know I don't want to get too deep into this stuff today. Just wanted to provide an outline of the method to the madness. So number 3 is your meals. And this really is the biggest difference maker, right? You can't outrun your fork. That's been proven time and again, because a calorie deficit really is that key variable that's going to lead to fat loss. But how do you do that? Well, it doesn't have to be, chicken and broccoli day after day. This professor in Kansas ate nothing but Twinkies. I think he mixed in some protein shakes for muscle maintenance, but lost 27 pounds, cholesterol went down, triglycerides went down, just because he was at his 800 calorie average per day, which was a deficit for him. This obviously is an extreme example. Please don't go Xing out and following the Twinkie diet. Probably not in the long run the best choice, but it goes to show that energy balance is really the key to this whole equation. And we talk about a cap. The other variable to ensuring you lose fat, maintain, gain muscle is that protein piece. And that's why we had so much of it in the quick fix plan, because it's technically almost 30% less calories than equal amounts of carbs and fats. Because think of a steak, you chew it, breaks it down, your body has to work pretty hard to eventually poop that out, right? That's actually burning calories on your behalf. So that's one piece that's overlooked, but I find muscle maintenance, having a steady stream of amino acids in your blood, is going to support you getting the body composition changes you want. And I found this interesting. We like to have kind of a treat meal built in as something to look forward to. And some of the more recent research on this supports that idea, that they lost similar amounts of weight, but they also had an easier time sustaining their motivation, self-control around food the rest of the week, because they didn't feel like they had to be so perfect. And I think that's important just for a mental break, but it also, according to the science, works quite well over the long term. Okay, and then the last one is mindset. I mean, we dig deep into this. I mean, we have a call every week with our members on mindset. I think we're going to be bringing on a mindset coach here soon who we're working out a deal with. Because the 5-inch space between your ears is more important than the 5 inches on your bicep. Like it makes or breaks this whole process, because you do need to see the scale not move some days and still continue to apply the program and effort. And that gets lost a lot of the times when you're trying to rush it, or you're on your own and you get frustrated and you think you're plateaued when maybe you just need to stick it out a little longer, right? Something to consider. Where it starts, though, is the foundation of having a strong reason to do it in the first place. It doesn't have to be a big sob story or you had a heart attack and you backed into a corner. But what is your why, and figuring out a strong enough why. Asking yourself twice on that front. Because doing it for your kids sounds good on paper, but why? Well, I want to be around for weddings, graduations, grandkids eventually. Like those, once you start kind of diving into why you want to be healthy and around for your kids, you start to realize, you start to put the picture in your mind of why you want to go through the effort. That can be a strong variable too. Okay. So what ties all the information together is implementation, actually executing a program long enough to get results, having an exit strategy to keep it off, changing your identity so that these things kind of come automatically for you. All that stuff is super important, and the information is useless without implementation, because everyone has fallen off the wagon at times. How did you get back on? How do you not fall off in the first place? At least not for more than a day or two. Well, that's what I think we call accountability with an asterisk. Because I hear this and it's not deep enough. I need accountability, but not the kind your kids need to go to sleep on time and not eat candy every meal. Because that's not going to actually empower you to keep the weight off or learn the skills to sustain your results. You don't need an adult daycare. I hope you don't. You need someone who's going to empower you to find that extra gear within you, give you the support system and community, surround you with the right people to kind of level up, so to speak, to shift gears, right? And I've found this super helpful in other areas, business coaches, fitness mentorships of my own early in the days. You kind of borrow beliefs and behaviors just from the power of the hive, seeing other people do it, seeing success photos, comments from other members who are in the exact same shoes as you, and you realize, okay, my excuses aren't really valid here. I'm going to find a way. And you give as much as you get in the group, and that's where the magic happens. So that's what we've tried to foster here. Not out babysitting, not a savior, but system and support to show you how to fish for yourself. So that's where the power is. I know, accountability, it's the word. So what's your number one takeaway so far? I see a few people sleeping. No, I'm just kidding. We've got almost 50 people on. That's not bad from 200 registrants. We'll take that. There's 60 in the Facebook group too. So what's jumping out at you? Anything new? Old hat? Let's hear it in the chat. Come on. Not moving on until I get a comment. Oh, there we go. I would agree with that one. Protein importance as well, Mike. That's huge. It's actually, I hate to compare it to other pieces, but it's more important than the workouts from a fat loss perspective. But the workouts play a different role completely. The need for accountability, says Ron. Yeah, the right kind of accountability, because we're adults with everything else taking priority except ourselves, and then we realize it's too late when we decide to make that change. And forcing our hand, having someone to support us, really goes far. Yeah, I like that one. The cardio versus walking. Walking's super underrated. You don't need to sweat up a storm to get a ton of fat loss from it. And I find walking fun, frankly. Yeah, Shelly. Well, 50% protein is the aggressive approach, but I'm all for protein shakes these days. I mean, processed or not, it's a convenience, and it goes well. And make sure you're muted. Anita, can you mute yourself? I hear some talking. And Judy says support within the group, support community. Yeah, I think that's really key. Is peer-to-peer support goes as far as like having coach in your corner. I still see someone. on audio. I can't do anything about it on my end. All right, those are good things. Let's keep moving here. I know we're getting close to the half-hour point. So for those who aren't a member, would you mind if I showed you how I can help you put this all together? We've got a free offer at the end here. So type yes if you're not a member. Actually, if you are a member, I'm going to hook you up with something too. Got a yes from Miriam. Awesome. Mike says yes. Good stuff. Okay. So let's keep rolling then. Very nice. Go rat. That's aggressive. So I want to show a couple members in different scenarios, really quickly flip through. She got a tan too, that helps, but 2 sizes in 6 weeks. Significant loss, but over 4 months. I know it's a year later now. She's out of the program, and she's still rolling. We just checked in with her recently. That's what we'd like to see. We got some yeses with exclamation marks. That's what we'd love to see. So this is where the Plan A approach will get you. 40 plus pounds. I said 45, but it was actually 41. Typo. In, as little as 3 months. That's possible. He had a wedding. He wanted to be fit on a certain date. We can do that. But it takes more sacrifice, as Yoda said early on. So most fall in the latter category, where we try to take this a little bit more methodically. Lacey has 5 kids, lost 4 sizes over a longer timeline. Didn't have a perfect journey by any means. Kids were sick, seemed every other week, but absolutely crushed it, as you can see. Tara, mom of 2 kids, they were home a lot. Sick during COVID, same idea, right? This is with the more sustainable approach, a 30-minute workout, simple nutrition and walking. That can accomplish these outcomes. Just think a little longer term. You can take it this far again. That's why I'm showing you 2 examples. Ron got ripped. He did take it to the point where he had to get quite aggressive. That's okay if that's your thing. Just know it takes more work. So Jenna reached out after her first dress sizing, obviously lost 2 sizes, quite happy in the after photo, great. I think she just, the confidence that came with that was the main thing. Blah, blah, blah. Joey, yeah, 50 pounds. This is more conventional client, not looking to get absolutely shredded, but wants that visceral, stubborn, harmful fat around the gut off. Thankfully didn't lose any chest hair. That's always my joke. I don't know if Joey's on here or not. There you go. Okay, wow, I put a lot in here. The point of this is we can get the outcomes you want. It just depends on which path you want to take and how much time you're willing to put in. It does work north of 50. All 3 of these women were in their 50s. This was a whole year in between. These were more 3 or 4 months. North of 60, Michelle. I think she's on. That is quite possible as well. North of 70. Quite possible. Actually, we have a better after photo for Jack. Sorry, Jack. Got to get you updated here because you've trimmed quite a bit more than that. Now, we even have members in their 80s, but they haven't shown the photos, so we're going to share them here. Sorry, Sam. I know you're on. We'll get yours in here soon. So you get the idea. We know what we're doing. You may still be skeptical. That's okay, but the question I have for you is, if you followed a simple system, didn't have to give up your favorite foods, there is a give and take there, but needed only work out for 30 minutes, do you think you'd be successful? Type yes in the chat. I'm going to see 1 million yeses on this one. There we go. Very nice. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, smiley face, Heidi. Yeah. That's what it's about. Why make it harder on yourself? When you're doing it the right way, like I am now, and I'm tempted to do the aggressive approach in June, just to say I could. But right now, I don't feel that restricted. I'm losing roughly at a pound a week pace, having some treat meals, exercising like I always would, walking a bit more. And I'm feeling like, why didn't I always do this? Why didn't I always diet like I tell my members to diet? Do what I say, not what I do. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Barb says it works. Yeah, Barb's in the program. There we go. So here's how it looks on the inside. Some of you guys certainly chime in if you're a member of what you experienced beyond the logistical stuff, like how it's benefited you. I'd love for you to share in the chat. But quickly going in, it's not an AI coach yet. It's a real person, either me, Rebecca, or Abby on the other end, where we're actively looking at your data, seeing that you hit your calorie goal for the day, whether or not you had a workout done. It does sync with your wearables, so we can see your steps. sure body fat percentage, heart rate, all those things, informally check in on Mondays with an assessment where you kind of score yourself on the week. We make the adjustments necessary to keep you moving towards your goals. So the value is in pairing data with a human on the other end to ensure you actually follow the data, right? Follow the system. It's one thing to have an app that tells you what to do, but if there's someone on the other side and the community on the other side that's going to kind of pull you forward, that's really the difference. So far, AI hasn't duplicated that. So my job is safe for a little bit. Maybe I'm the AI, who knows? Okay, nice, you do you. Oh, yes. And we've got, certain elements that people find value in, more so during COVID. We introduced live streaming workouts. Where I think the biggest key on these now is our Q&A calls on mindset. And usually we have a theme call every Friday where we dig into something we're seeing amongst members. That's a reoccurring thing and try to help them through it. And my daughters will make regular cameos. That's at our old house. I've really got to update this slide. This is the power of this, though, I think, is the support group. We've separated, we've got the women's group and the men's group because they both need different things. I've learned that over time, and they're more open when they're among just women or just men. So these are thriving, frankly. They seem to almost coach themselves now. I don't know if you guys agree, but I can be in there to prompt you guys on Wednesday and so on, but I feel like there's some coaching within the group, and you give as much as you get, and that's really where the value is on the community end. Ilias is totally, because someone's struggling with the same things you are. It's helpful to know that, but you also can vent and share your own struggles and get great feedback from people that are right where you are in your journey, not just the coach who's kind of removed from that, so to speak. All right, muscle camps. Yes, these have been real. We were doing them a ton before COVID, and now we're reintroducing them. I had quite a few last weekend, and we've got more coming this weekend. So it's just a way to get kind of that virtual to in-person crossover and get your form checked and assessed. In terms of results, which is what everyone talks about, everyone wants, we do promise measurable stuff. So our guys promise us 4 inches off the waist. Women generally 3 inches off the waist in those first 90 days. That's the launching pad. Oftentimes, you're going to require a longer journey unless you really want to get aggressive, like we talked about off the top. So average weight, body fat percentage, I like to think somewhere around 10% in those first 3 months. That's going to make a significant difference in how you look because you're gaining back some muscle, and that masks the weight loss on the scale. But it's quality over quantity here, right? So don't get too caught up in the numbers. You got to run your own race, but we're confident we'll get you these measurable results as well. All right. Oh my, forgot to put this in. So that's a laundry list of stuff that's in the program. I think the immeasurable stuff, the group that's already been shared in the chat, but the community members you're going to meet, the support from another human is really where the value is. But we do promise measurable results, and we give you so many touch points throughout the week to ensure you don't slip through the cracks. We do our best as long as you meet us halfway. There's still people that aren't committed that fall through. It happens, unfortunately, but our success rate's over 90%. Last we did the math in the fall. So we're confident we'll get you results too. All right. We do throw in bonuses. So I've built over almost 60 guides now over my 11 years in this, and we've had some of these updated. So there are various different things like a core focused ab workbook, booty boosters. Everyone wants bigger buns these days.
Mark is at home by himself.
Don, welcome.
All right.
And checklists like this, resiliency checklist, because the mindset piece is so big to our program, we make that our focus. So you'll get all these right off the top. We do set you up with 5 ingredient or less recipe books. I've designed my own. I've got this one licensed to use as well. It's over 200 recipes that are real simple to put together that kind of support the plan, right? Higher protein, but not tasteless, which is important. We never want you to bored to tears from a chicken and broccoli. Fast food, guys. So this is just a quick cheat sheet. If you must hit a drive-through, hey, that's life. You got kids, whatever. Then we do give you some options. And if you haven't seen this yet, as a member, let me know. It should be in the vault. And this is the bolt, everything else. So I know we get this a lot when people say, well, I'm going to wait till my dog's second birthday. I got a vacation for 3 days next month. And you keep pushing things off because life is busy. But we've literally set this up to meet you where you are and deliver it online. You don't have to have scheduling conflicts and try to be somewhere at a set time. It's optimized for that lifestyle that I'm in the midst of right now with 2 kids, and literally every night during the week we have either soccer or dance. So I get the challenges that presents. So we want to make this as simple and effective as possible, but there's no reason to wait for your 50s, 60s or beyond to start this stuff. It's important to do now because we all know quality of life, whether it's, it starts in your 30s for better or worse. So if you're not doing the right things and you wait a decade, it's festering underneath the surface. You want to get to this stuff now. All right. So a quick introductory offer to take the first step on this together. It's very low pressure. It's either myself or our coordinator, Jeremy. So you can do what you got on your own. You've learned a lot, hopefully, and you can watch the replay back to kind of piece things together. That should be enough to get started on your own. But like I talked about, if you want a custom tailored plan, support, community, a system to follow, and we can frankly 10x your results in half the time, then schedule a chat at workwithmitch.ca, and we're going to put this together for you regardless whether you join or not. Yeah, sorry, Cheryl. I'll get you a link to the vault. And you sent me that. So you can put that into your, what do they call it, browser? And that's a link for a free consultation call. So we've waived the consultation fee for this call. Do you look at how your clients have maintained weight over the long term? Deborah, yes and no. We do follow-ups. Not everyone responds, but I think we have an incredible track record in that because of our phase 2 process, right? Where we actually deliberately increase calories, bring you into maintenance, help you kind of build, support muscle mass, and not make this just another 6-week fat loss challenge where you just go about your business, go back to your old habits. There is an exit strategy we talk about, which is as important as the initial fat loss phase. So I'm confident the majority of members who have been in it long enough instilled the habits and identity to keep the weight off. Some like to stick around because they enjoy the community anyway, and that's cool. But those who part ways, generally speaking, maintain their results. I just don't have firm numbers for you. All right. Okay, I've got one notification of booking. So if you're sitting there on the fence right now, members, I would appreciate you dropping 2 cents on where you were at on day one, how skeptical you were before you booked that consultation, and maybe put some people at ease, because it's normal to kind of let that lizard brain or voice in our head say, oh, I'm scared. I think I'll do exactly what I'm doing now because it's less risk than potentially all the benefits of a fitness journey, because if I fail, I'm out money, whatever. But you've got nothing to lose but inches and weight here. Susan's still around, had a very successful time with us. Yeah, and she loves the workouts. We love you too, Susan. So the 5-second rule is to let yourself think about it for 5 seconds and then take the leap. I swear, the more you think about it and sleep on things, the more you get nowhere. I can be living proof of this. I've made that mistake many times in the past. Now I try to gather all the information and make a split decision. Do it, you won't regret this. Is Susan. Best thing I've ever done for myself, says Rose. Yeah, you've been crushing it. Ilea, I was terrified, but wow, best commitment I've made to myself. I didn't pay any of these people to be here, by the way. Cam, I was skeptical, now 90 days in, over 25 pounds down, feeling great, more energy. Hell yeah. We love having you, Cam. You committed Cam, best decisions I've made. Yeah, Ruth couldn't walk to the end of her block without being out of breath and didn't feel like she had lots of weight to lose, but fitness level obviously was not in a good place. So 9 months later, 40 pounds lighter. Boom, fit and fine. Carol sent me a direct message, never believed it would work. After 25 years of other programs, trust me, it works. Holy, didn't expect this. Your checks are in the mail. Okay, well, we've got 2 of those calls booked for the giveaway. If you're a member and you want that package I talked about, certainly send me a note too. You kind of get that off the hop, but you may want a refresher in terms of the macro guide. So Shelly's feeling more energy. Back surgery, still able to lose with this program, so it's adaptable to the injury. Yeah. Barb started eating more and working out less, and the fat loss began. There you go. That's exactly what we talked about throughout this presentation. Workouts in my basement, no rush to drive to the gym. Yeah, working well with the plan, change monthly. That's the idea. We meet you where you are, as little friction as possible. Well, this is turning into a bit of an infomercial, so we'll leave this here. Any questions, drop me a note or respond to the email. Hopefully you got some value from just stopping in here for I guess it ended up being 48 minutes. Oops. Well, I guess we had enough value to give you. So I appreciate you having the time. Again, if you want to book that chat, workwithmitch.ca. No pressure. We're not going to wrangle you into any sort of deal if it doesn't sound like a good fit for both of us. But you walk away with that macro guide nonetheless. Awesome, Cheryl. Thanks. Thanks for being here, guys. And we'll get that replay out in the next day or two. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I appreciate all you being here. Most of you stuck around till the end. What do you know? Shocker. Okay. Have a good rest of Tuesday. Cheers.